Okay, naam, samahani, pole kwa hitilafu za kimitambo. Hii ni GBS TV Jumatatu na nilikuwa nimekuahidi kwamba nikirejea tena tutakuwa tunazungumzia swala nzima sasa la kuhusu uongozi, siasa na uchumi, na ndio maana tuko na mgeni hapa. Nilikuwa na mtaraji mgeni wangu wa pili ambaye ni Japheth Mboi kutoka muungano wa Kenya Kwanza, ambaye hivi sasa anasema hatafika sababu hivi sasa tunavyozungumza, unajua leo ni siku yao kule. Kwa hivyo ametuma apology, akasema hataweza kufika, lakini cha msingi ni kwamba lazima sisi tuweze kusonga mbele. Lakini kwanza nichukue wakati huu nikukaribisha ndani ya GBS TV. Niseme it has been a long, daktari.
Sure.
How have you been?
No, I'm fine. I've been doing well, though very busy. Doing so many workshops, so many conferences around. But so far so good. Yeah.
So far so good. Na kwa nini umeingia kana kwamba uko na uoga?
Hivi ndo nafikiria sababu hiyo ni mawazo yako. Uoga uko moyoni, huwezi kuona kwa nje.
Umejificha.
Lakini leta yaliyomo basi tuangalie kama kuna uoga ama hapana.
Yaliyomo, kuna mtu anasema ya kwamba we are about to bring back the BBI too.
No, this one was projected a long time. Ilikuwa tayari imeshatabiriwa.
Yes.
Itarudi. Kwa sababu majibu ya hii nchi ni yale. Majibu yalikuwa yale ambayo yalikuwa kwa BBI. Ilikuwa majibu ya kusaidia hii nchi ikuje katika hali ya kukaa katika umoja. Kwa sababu hilo lilikuwa lengo kubwa sana la Uhuru Kenyatta. Lakini kwa vile watu waliona ya kwamba Uhuru Kenyatta amekosea, wakaitupilia mbali. Na Uhuru alisema mwenyewe ya kwamba imepumzika tu, itakuja kurudi tena. Mwenyewe alisema mambo haya alipokuwa na Address Nation, na imekuja. Iko sahi.
BBI tu.
BBI tu.
Asante. Kwa hivyo ningetaka nikupatie dakika moja uweze kuwasalimu wale ambao wanatutazama mahali popote walipo.
Kwanza kabisa nichukue nafasi kushukuru Mwenyezi Mungu aswa kwa station ya GBS kwa kutupatia nafasi angalau tuweze kuongea na Wakenya na kuwapatia uwasia hapa na pale. Na pili nitoe salamu kwa wote ambao wanatazama popote pale walipo, kutoka sehemu yangu ya Ingoze Matia, siwezi kusahau kwa sababu huko ni nyumbani, na pia marafiki zangu wote wakiwa hapa Nairobi kama vile akina Irene ambao wananisupport sana kwa vitu vingi, niwapatie salamu, niwaambia kwamba Mungu anawapenda. Na pia wewe Bwana Kibe, nisahau kukusalimia kwa sababu naweza kukuona niangalia sura mbaya hapa. Upokee salamu zangu na hata za jamii yangu yote kwa ujumla, mke wangu akiwemo.
Yes. Nami nataka niseme asante sana sababu ya kutenga muda wako kwa mara nyingine kutupambia awamu ya GBS TV Jumatatu asubuhi. Na kwanza ningetaka niseme asante pia kwa watazamaji wetu ambao wamekuwa waaminifu kutazama kila mahali na ambao wanasema ya kwamba wanazidi kutufuatilia. Na sasa ningetaka tuchukue mazungumzo yetu na tuanze kwa upesi na kwa utaratibu swala hili la ubunifu wa afisi ya kiongozi wa wengi wa kiongozi wa upinzani. Maybe as the word go, katika taifa letu la Kenya, watu wanaposikia kiongozi wa upinzani, watu hufikiria nani?
Raila ndio mtu wa kwanza kabisa ambaye anajulikana kwa mambo ya upinzani. Kabla ya Raila kulikuwa watu kama akina Shikuku, lakini Shikuku alikufa, pole sana. Na kwa sasa hivi ukiongelea upinzani katika nchi ya Kenya, sio mwingine bali ni Raila. Huyo ndio mtu ambaye anajulikana kwa sababu ya upinzani. Yes.
Kwa hivyo watu wazikafikiria mtu mwingine, sababu nisikia kuna mtu alisema kwamba yes, tunataka kubuni afisi ya kiongozi wa upinzani, na akasema sisi hatuundi serikali, hatuuzi hii nafasi sababu ya Raila Amolo Odinga.
Hii nafasi sana sana ni muhimu. Ni kwa sababu gani? Sio kila mtu anafaa kukuwa msimamizi wa mambo ya upinzani. Ukiangalia katika elections zilizopita, Raila kulingana na elections alipata kura mingi. Na kwa sababu alishindwa kuwa president wa Kenya kutokana na mambo ambayo yalitokea, ni yeye tu anayefaa bado kuwa upinzani kwa sababu kuna wafuasi wengi. Yeah.
So kwa hivyo, are we going for merit or for the convenience?
Here is actually for convenience. Because for those people who know Raila is, if you want to work well, you find a way.
Yes.
So that it can be able to be controlled. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you will not work. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nataka tuweze kuangalia baadhi ya visa ama baadhi ya mwelekeo ama utaratibu ambazo ama zinafaa kufuatwa wakati wa utekelezwaji ama ubunifu wa nafasi hii ya kiongozi wa upinzani. Watu wengi wanauliza, unaweza ukabadilisha ama ukabuni nafasi ya kiongozi wa upinzani bila kumhusisha mwananchi?
Hiyo haiwezekani. Constitution ya Kenya kwa sasa hivi imetilia mikazo sana vitu ambavyo lazima ipitie kwa mwananchi ndipo uweze kubuni ofisi ile yoyote. Kwa mfano hii ya upinzani lazima iende kwa wananchi, tuwe na referendum,
Yes.
ndio wananchi waamue kama hiyo ofisi itakuwa ama hapana. Iwapo serikali ya sasa italazimisha kupitia njia ya bunge, basi mtajua kwamba demokrasia katika nchi yetu ya Kenya imekufa. Ni kwa sababu wakati bunge linaenda kutumiwa kama chombo cha kufanya vitu, kubadilisha vitu, kufanya amendments kwa sababu ya kufaidisha serikali ambayo iko katika mamlaka, hapo sasa nchi itakuwa imeua demokrasia. Kwa hivyo iwapo ili jambo litashughulikiwa ipasavyo, inafaa rais mwenyewe atafute mbinu ili tuwe na referendum, ndio wananchi wenyewe watoe mamlaka ya kwamba mara hii tunataka hii ofisi iingie na irekebishwe kwa njia ambayo inafaa. Bila hiyo hawataenda mahali. Kwa sababu gani? Koti itajaa cases ambazo zinahusiana na mambo hayo. Kwa hivyo njia tu ambayo ni kamili, ambayo ni ya haki, ni kupitia njia ya referendum ambapo mwananchi huku chini afanye uamuzi. Yes.
Nilikuwa naangalia article 7 ya our constitution ambayo inampatia rais nafasi ya kubuni. That is article 7 and that is section 4 inasema kwamba the president can perform any executive function provided for in these constitutions. Samahani, naona kuna watu ambao wananitafuta kwa simu. Tafadhali tuweke wasipigie hivyo nikibe kwa wakati huu. Inasema kwamba except and otherwise provided for in this constitution may establish an office in the public service in accordance with the recommendation of the Public Service Commission.
Sehemu hiyo ya sheria inahusiana na mambo kama vile ofisi za CS, permanent secretaries, hizo ana uwezo wa kuweza kubuni.
Yes. Lakini
ukija upande ya mambo kama ya ofisi ya upinzani, hiyo lazima iende through referendum. Yeah.
So kwa hivyo kipengele cha 7 cha katiba ibara ya 4 hawezi
itumikia kuweza kubuni ofisi ya upinzani. Hawezi, lakini anaweza kuitumikia kubuni ofisi kama vile ya cabinet secretaries, permanent secretaries, mambo kama hayo, Public Service Commission. Unaona, lakini hawezi kuenda kwa upande wa ofisi ya upinzani kwa sababu upande wa upinzani inashika nchi yote kwa ujumla na mamlaka ya hiyo peke yake iko na mwananchi wa kawaida. Yes.
Okay, asante. Hivyo ndivyo watu wengi walikuwa nasema kwamba licha ya kwamba kubuni nafasi ya kiongozi wa upinzani inamhitaji mwananchi. Kwa hivyo hata iwapo basi wana mbinu gani ya kuleta hii afisi ya upinzani? Does it means that now they will just to amend or to create an office through amendment ya constitution only targeting the office of the opposition leader?
That one would be very wrong if they have got to amend the law for the purpose of creating an office for the opposition leader. It will be very wrong. The only way to do this is through a referendum. That's the only way. If by mistake they try to do that, then, as I've said before, it means that the government has hijacked the parliament. And if that happens, believe me, this country is likely to go into chaos. Because if you hijack the parliament, then it means whatever you want to do as a president, you use the parliament to do it. And you see, way of amendment is limited. There are things you need to amend which the law allows you to. There are some other things you cannot amend through parliament. It has to go to the referendum, the people. Because the power is with the people. It's not with the parliament as such. So if there is any mistake the president is going to make, is to initiate a process where the amendments are going to the parliament to bring in this office. But the best way and the only way that will give him peace, he has got to go to the people. So he has to bring back the BBI. Maybe he can just change the name. Because maybe BBI sounded so bad for him. He can change the name bring another name. But what we want, the people must make a decision. That's very important.
Maybe from where you see the Daktari, do you feel that kwamba if we just now create that office, that the challenge facing this country politically itakuwa imesolviwa?
Somehow, somewhat, but we do not know the intentions of Raila up to this time. We do not know. Because Raila is a guy you cannot just underrate in any way. He's not someone you can decide to please in any way. Unless he makes a decision to get into something, you cannot bring him into something. So there is a possibility that if he does so, then chances are very high that Raila will take position. But still, you see, it's an opposition office. So all you are doing is you are empowering him to do it more. Because now it will be official, it will be constituted, and now he'll even have more powers to do whatever he's supposed to do in the side of opposition. So this one, in fact, will make him not even sleep. Because now it will be a constitutional office. And once it goes that direction, then Raila will be more powerful. Yeah.
Maybe somebody anaweza kauliza that can we amend the constitution then if maybe probably it will seal and maybe by the end of 2023 maybe itakuwa imemalizika kuamend. Is it in order for the constitution now to start if it's effective immediately after the amendment, or we have to wait?
No, they cannot wait. The reason why they are bringing it in is they want to create a solution that is now hitting them up. Because they know if Raila is not controlled in a way or another, they will not work. And given that the nature of the leaders we have, for example, the president and the deputy, are people like answering Raila every day. You see, Raila is not a person you keep answering. The best thing you can do with Raila, ignore him. Whatever he says, just ignore. You are safe. But if you are going to answer him, everything he says, tomorrow you are waking up to answer. He will even create more things. And therefore, he's going to destabilize the government. You're going to spend time talking about Raila instead of talking about what they are supposed to do for us. So the quicker they create it, the better for them.
Somebody raised on an MCA on last month that Kenya, for the first time, we have a coward president who responds as you are saying. When Raila says something, he responds the next day. Alisema ya kwamba Raila akisema kitu leo wanakongamana wote kwa kanisa. Maybe to answer. Now, I don't want to maybe for the first time to come out of this debate concerning the opposition leader. But how, even if you are saying that we are going for conveniency, until when, as a country, we shall do things maybe to protect what we have as a nation in the name of we are doing this for the convenience, not what's supposed to be done.
No, the truth of the matter is if Kenya did not politicize the whole thing about BBI. Before BBI, there were experts.
We are coming there to the BBI.
Yeah, I know. I want to just answer that question you are giving me. You see, before BBI, there were experts. These experts did some research and found out the main problem that was hitting this country. And that's why BBI was started with an agenda that if there are some weaknesses that are causing us to fight every now and then, let this weakness be handled through the BBI. And in the BBI, this office of the official opposition was captured. The factor of winner takes it all was handled. It is actually immoral that someone gets 7 million votes and you assume this person is useless. That's not right. It's actually immoral to think like that because this is a person who has followers, hearty followers. And if you want to confirm that Raila is a factor in the Kenyan politics, for all the elections he has gone through, you discover that he's getting at least around 7 million votes. Despite the fact of all of the challenges facing the elections, he comes up with about 700 million votes. Meaning, this is a man who has established a base of supporters that is not shaken at all. It remains intact all through the elections. And therefore, if you want to take it that this man is useless, he doesn't have anything to say, then you are lying. You have to be sure that this is a man who can be able to affect the destiny of a country in any way or another. So what I'm saying is, by the end of the day, we may be creating this office for convenience, but then if the other side of the political wing realize what the intentions of Uhuru was, then they would not be struggling with this now.
Daktari, are you trying to tell us that kufanya ama kuleta hii amendment ku amend katiba ili to create not for the benefit of Kenyans but for the benefit of one person, that Raila Odinga?
Actually, it's not for the benefit of Raila Odinga as such. No, it's for the benefit of the government. The government is looking for a way through which it can be able to work without being disturbed. So what do? They get this problem. How do they solve the problem? Let us give this problem the power. Let us create an office for him. Let us provide for him so they can be able to work on a guided formula. Because when the constitution is amended, they are going to give the do's and the don'ts. That's how it's going to work. So there are things that through the constitution, they don't allow him to do some things. That's what they're going to do by the end of the day. It's not just going to be a statement that they're creating an office. No. They're going to put there some rules of the game that Raila will be following. And that's where now Raila will refuse and then oppose the whole thing in parliament. So by the end of the day, whatever they are doing is meant for them. They are looking for a way to tame Raila, actually. And they can be able to do whatever they want to do comfortably well.
Okay, now let's now go to the BBI and we see what BBI used to propose on the same. What's the difference between now that section within the BBI that was talking about or that was trying to provide and to come up with the provision that should give maybe a certain position or a certain leader a certain position in parliament, in a parliament and also in our nation?
Actually, the BBI, as I said earlier, was the answer to the problems of this country as far as political wings are concerned. If someone had taken it positively and allowed it to go on, then we'll not be talking about that right now. Why? Before this system we are having, we used to have a system where the parliament had opposers and proposers. But I don't know, we have talked about this, that now the parliament is controlled by parties. So the parliament belongs to the parties. So the party with the majority has it all. Because by the end of the day, what a party wants is what's going to happen. So initially, it was that even if you are vying as a president, you are at the same time vying as an MP. So like Raila will be vying as a president at the same time, by then he will be vying as an MP of Langata. So he loses presidency, he still remains a member of parliament. And now in this matter, because of the position of presidency, he will now become the man in charge of opposition. So he becomes the leader of opposition. And therefore, these issues will not be arising now. Why are they arising? We abolished the right thing, and now we are going back to the same thing. So BBI was going to answer many of the questions that were making Kenyans not have peace ever after elections. One of them was the winner takes it all. Where someone has got 7 million votes, but because someone has gotten 8 million, he says this person is useless. And then there's the majority. The majority is fine. Someone got 8 million, someone got 7 million. It's okay. The majority factor takes it all. But then, how do you just ignore this person who got 7 million? What capacity do you think this person has? Like, for example, Raila today has powers. He can call the 7 million people now. Believe me, and they come. Like he had proposed to have a parallel Jamhuri Day celebrations. Believe me, today. People would have been there. In fact, more people than those that will be in the stadium. Meaning, this person is a factor. So BBI in itself was going to answer the question of equality, meaning Kenya is a tribal nation. You can't run away from tribes when it comes to Kenya as a country. It will take a long way to kill the tribe factor in this country. So BBI was addressing it in this manner. What do we do with these other tribes that don't feel the power, don't feel the position, they don't feel like they are in the government? BBI was bringing about equality based on tribes. They wanted to bring tribes on table so that at least every tribe is represented. And by doing so, there will be very few complaints from people. People will not complain because they feel they are in government too. So BBI in itself was an answer to many problems that are affecting Kenyans today. Only that we closed our eyes And it was just because of the political mood that we were in. And it's because of misconception. Because people thought that BBI is coming just to support Raila to come the president. And that alone is what killed BBI. But for now, as things are, BBI has to be brought back because there is going to be a referendum. And the referendum means BBI. The only thing it's going to be is going to be the name. They use another name.
We haven't seen the document so that we can peruse it, and we know that the members of parliament now they're in recess. Maybe from next year, if we can see, if we can have an opportunity to see the document so that we can peruse it to see what is within. But there is an anticipation apart from what do you think will be the sum of the structures that have to be confined within the office of the opposition leader.
Just like they have already hinted to us, they need to have the office of the opposition leader and the deputy. And then in it, we expect that they are going to have a shadow government. Because when you create an office of the opposition leader, then you are creating a full government of an opposition leader. So we're going to have even CSs holding offices down so that this particular CS can be able to countercheck the ministries. So that's one thing that's going to be very clear. That when they are creating this office, it's going to have a full-fledged government, but a shadow government, which is going to be foreseeing this other government that is in place. That's how it's going to work. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Singetaka tukae pale sababu document yenyewe hatujaiona, tuisome tuangalie ni nini iko ndani. But ukiangalia now the new constitution on the structures ambazo zimeka pale kuhusu majority leader and minority leader. And now you find that that sect or that office counter-checking the government, counter-checking the parliament. What do you think will be now the difference? Or now when you come now to, when we amended the constitution, now that, do you feel that the office of a minority leader will be nowhere to be found, or maybe will not have anything?
What's going to happen is, you see, we are bringing in an opposition leader. Now, in the parliament, we are having the majority leader and the minority leader. When the opposition comes in office, then the minority leader does not exist.
Yes.
He has to be swept off. Now we remain with the opposition leader who's going to be in parliament. So the issue of majority leader is going to die by the end of the day because we are bringing, in fact, the structure is going to change. Chances are very high we may go back to the parliamentary structures
System, yes,
which we had before. But now it's going to take time for us to implement this because the fact of partyism is in the blood of people. They are not yet to see the sense. But if we were to advise, then it means we go back to the parliamentary system of the other time. That was the best because we had opposers and we had proposers. When you are not happy with something, you simply cross. And that's what people know in this country. Even children know. When I was in school, debate was about opposers and proposers. So this issue of partyism in parliament, if it's not removed, then we are going nowhere. So I believe that those who are going to be drafting the constitution to bring in the change that we want, they are going to factor in the fact that once this comes in play, then we go back to proposers and opposers. That way we're going to have a legislative council that is effective. But as at now, we don't have any. What we have is a party in a party. I mean, a party in a parliament. The other party in a parliament. So whatever this party wants, and especially that is in government, it takes it all because they are the majority. So to save this country, we need to go back to the old days when we had the proposers and the opposers. By the way, those days we had very sober conversations where someone is sitting there, is discussing. When he feels that he's not getting it right on the other side, he crosses. He crosses the floor and goes on the other side. That's where we had the real legislation taking place, where we had no parties. It was non-partisan completely. But now it's different.
Maybe tukulejea tutakuwa tunaangalia in which mode ya kwamba this bill itakuwa inawasilishwa pale katika bunge. Ama tena atakuja kutuambia basic structure. Ile maneno tutakuwa tuwasikia kule kwa Supreme Court. I know that there are some of sect of lawyers ambao wako tayari tu hivi. Pelekeni hii kitu kwa bunge, then tutaenda mahakamani. I know tutakuwa tunajiuliza even if there might be someone who ataenda kupinga hili pendekezo. Do you feel ya kwamba ombi la huyo wakili litakilishwa where people are feeling that it's like now a executive, it's like now controlling the parliament, it's like a executive is controlling the judiciary. Now there's no something like independence within those two bodies. Kwa hivyo tutakuja kuzungumzia hayo. Okay. Hii ni GBS TV Jumatatu, mimi naitwa Ivan Kibe, usicheze mbali.
Our soul is knowledge. It is a dynamic world that we live in, and we seek a source that will inform us in every change in innovation and all current happenings.
We are here to sound a warning.
Here at GBS TV, we deliver exactly that. Chronologically, with an additive of entertainment and ear-catching conversations that will change your perspective of tomorrow.
That's opposition leader Bobby Wine. He actually tweeted,
"War is a very expensive business."
We are a team of professionals, from well-esteemed camera experts to directors, field reporters and anchors.
A society without a watchdog.
We will be updating you on matters economic.
I am Sete Emmanuel, and this is GBS.
Five minutes remaining.
GBS TV now brings you news at 9, beginning 5th December 2022.
Everywhere, GBS.
Na karibu tena mtazamaji wangu wa GBS TV, tunaendelea na mazungumzo yetu hapa. Karibu tena my good friend.
Asante sana.
Na ambao ni kusalimia na mgeni wetu wa pili ambaye alikuwa afike. Anasema kweli waliambiwa wapatane kule kwa maandalizi ile ya sikukuu ya leo.
Sure.
Kwa hivyo tunamwachilia.
Lazima wakue huko.
Okay, na ningetaka tuweze kuangalia maybe the means or the mode by which this bill will be presented in the parliament. Watatumia ile popular initiative ama itaanzia wapi? Tena isifike katikati ya ngosho ya kwamba haikupitia taratibu ambazo zinafaa kisheria.
Already saizi tunapoongea tuko na uproar. Already people wameanza kuiongelea. Wameanza kupanga kuipinga. Kwa sababu kulingana na watu huku nje, wawe ni lawyers, wanasema ya kwamba iwapo wanataka kufanya hayo mabadiliko lazima tuwe na referendum. Kumaanisha ya kwamba siku wanapotoa tu zile pepa zao na kuiwakilisha bungeni, same day mtu atakuwa kotini kuipinga. Kwa sababu kulingana na watu huku nje, wanajua njia mwafaka ni kupitia referendum ya mabadiliko yatendeke. Kwa hivyo ikiingia katika bunge kutakuwa na vuta ni kuvute. Haitaweza kupita kwa urahisi vile, kwa sababu hata kati ya hawa watu wa serikali, upande wa serikali pia kuna wale ambao hawataki Ni kwa sababu ya chuki fulani ambayo wako nayo, na pia wanafikiria kwamba kama wataleta Raila katika kiwango hicho, huenda ni kama Raila anaweza kuwanyang'anya, ama huenda kama Raila atagain another mileage. So hata kati ya upande wa serikali kuna wale ambao hawajafurahia jambo lile. Kwa hivyo inaweza kuwa ni kazi ngumu sana hata kuipitisha katika bunge. Haitakuwa kazi rahisi sana.
Jana nilisikia gavana wa kule Siaya James Orengo akisema any attempt yeye kama gavana, na unajua sasa ni kama unavyosema, kuna you can predict the areas ambazo maybe itapata maybe haitapata ugwaji mkono. Lakini ningetaka tuweze kuangalia swala la, hata kama unasema kwamba huenda kuna baadhi ya wabunge ambao wataipinga pale, na iwapo basi kuna Mkenya atatokea kwenda mahakamani. Earlier on tulikuwa tumesema kwamba kuna watu wana feel it's like now the parliament and judiciary they are not independent. Hata aipinge kesi yake, kuna mtu anafeel kwamba itatupiliwa mbali because it's like now the chair of executives watu na feel just like the chair of a parliament and judiciary.
Ni ukweli, kwa sababu nakumbuka nikiwa hapa nikiwaambia kwamba tunataka tufikie wakati katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ambapo tunapoongelea independent organizations ama bodies za nchi hazina mtu ambaye specifically anazichagua. Kwa mfano ukichukua judiciary ndio wanapitia through Judiciary Service Commission, lakini hatimaye inaishia kwa meza ya rais. Rais ndiye atakayeamua kama huyu anafaa ama hapana. Kwa hivyo ni kumaanisha kwamba mimi ninapo kuchagua ama kukupatia kazi, niko na mamlaka juu yako. Kuna mambo fulani lazima utafanya mimi ninataka. Kwa hivyo tunaongelea saizi judiciary haiko independent. Na tayari ukiangalia dalili ni kama wamenaswa kwa kupewa ruvitu. Kwa hivyo wanafurahia ruvitu sana. Kwa hivyo wanafanya kazi wakimheshimu yule ambaye anawapatia ruvitu. Kwa hivyo kuna uwezekano ya kwamba mambo yanaweza kwenda kwa koti ndio, lakini bado koti ikatupilia mbali. Ni kwa sababu already we are running an injustice system. The judiciary itself is an injustice in itself. So we cannot find justice there. The parliament itself is an injustice system already because it's a party's organ. It's being managed by a party. So long as a party has the majority, it takes it all. Whatever they want to do, they will do. So what we're going to see when this comes to parliament is just confusion, making noise, shouting here and there. But by the end of the day, whatever the government wants will go through. And especially, most of the politicians we have in this country are not very strong. They don't have that strong willpower in them to stand for what is right. Most of them will easily be swayed by some, maybe being bought by some money corruption, such like things, and then by the end of the day, they just join the train, and they'll pass this thing, even if it will have errors. For example, we had appointments of CS. They went through vetting. They went through vetting in parliament, right? And then there are people who had questionable issues. But by the end of the day, what did the parliament do? They passed all of them. What was the essence of having them vetted?
Wasting time.
And that was just wasting time. We need to amend the constitution to provide for the president to nominate at least 3 in every docket. So these people are taken for vetting. And out of the 3, 1 is chosen. And then at the committee level, any person who has issues should not be presented to parliament for final approvals. Shouldn't. Because there are issues. You remember I said it here. Integrity is not about being approved to have done a mistake. No. Integrity is all about the stories we say about you. That's what integrity, because that goes in the public domain. How do you convince a Mamamboga that I didn't do mistakes? As long as I have heard anything about you, even if it was wrong, the people will just take it, this person is bad. So we need to come up with the right systems that are going to be, in fact, parliament should not be the right organ to vet, because most of them are political in their thinking. The president is a politician. The president has nominated people. He has sent to parliament. Who are sitting in parliament? The members of his party. So tell me how the UDA guy in parliament will refuse what the president has chosen. Impossible. Because the president is the head of the same party. So whatever goes there is not actually vetting. It's a show off. It's just a formality to rubber stamp things. But we require to come up with a sober system where, if we talk about vetting, can we be able to create another body that is not political, that is independent, that brings in people from all divides, for example, from the church, from where they come, people who are neutral, people who are not partisan, that they are able to vet for us the leaders that we want or the officers that we want in our government. But as it is at now, the parliament is just a rubber stamp, and whatever the president wants, believe me, it will just go through.
Daktari, I can remind you that during campaign period, the president, by then deputy president, alisema kwamba for the space of 5 or 10 years, maybe in his administration, his priority will not be changing the constitution. What has happened now after he won the election now, what he said that will not be priority now has become the priority. But before that, we cannot end these issues of constitutional amendment without talking about representation. Kiangalia wakilishi ama usawa wa kijinsia katika bunge letu la kitaifa, jinsia ya kina mama, jinsia ya vijana, wale ambao wanaishi na ulemavu imeweza kuwafikiwa ipasavyo, na pia tuweze kuangalia hii amendment ambayo huenda hatujaiona. Do you feel that the new amendment that will come will feature how the issues of two-third gender will be solved?
Now, you see, this is a very complex thing altogether, because most of these offices are competitive offices. And because the offices are competitive, it's not very easy to achieve the one-third gender rule, unless we specifically pinpoint specific offices or departments that must be headed by women. That's the only way we can manage to bring in the factor of one-third gender rule. Otherwise, as you see now, we have to advertise jobs, people have got to apply, you know. And when they're applying, it's on a competitive basis. So tell me, how am I going to give a woman when she did not marry? She did not marry, she competed among men. She did not pass the test. How do I give her a job and leave the one who passed it? So the issue should be, if we want to do that and then succeed about that, we need then to go another extra mile and say, when it comes to cabinet secretaries, the following ministries are set specifically for women. Or where, or where a CS is a man, a permanent secretary should be a woman. We make it very clear like that. Where a CS is a woman, the permanent secretary should be a man. Then that way we can be able to achieve. But as it is at now, the law is weak in that it talked about the gender issue, yes, but not go deeper into interpreting to create a way through which we can achieve that. So the only way we can achieve that is by specifically creating offices or specifying in the law that the following offices will be occupied by women. The following offices will be occupied by the people with disabilities and all that. That way, then we can easily achieve that particular rule of gender. Otherwise, there is no other way. Because when it comes to politics, what do? We go for elections. We elect people depending on their abilities, on merit. So if a woman did not merit, what do we do with her? Unless we say, the following constituencies, we shall want a parliamentarian who is a woman. So we be very specific. Out of the 291 constituencies, we say 1/3 of these, how many are there? Then we pinpoint out and say this constituency, this constituency, this constituency, we're going to have what? A woman. That's the only way.
There was a move by which maybe the BBI recommendation ilikuwa inajaribu kutafuta jinsi hii jinsia ya usawa kijinsia utafikiwa. Do you think that even if they are saying that they are not bringing back BBI, do you feel that they can buy such idea?
Of course, it's already taken. Because already they are talking about, they are proposing to appoint more women in positions. How do they appoint? The constitutions must allow them to appoint. Meaning they must create offices for these women. And for that to happen, the constitution must be able to spell it out. So by the end of the day, the BBI itself is just alive, although they'll only change the name.
We finished with the representation issues. During the BBI, there was an issue where ilikuwa propose maybe the increase of new constitutions, or maybe constituencies, maybe to merge to go with the populations. Do you feel that that one will also, and that one was seen as if it was favoring Mount Kenya region?
It's not about actually favoring Mount Kenya, because when it comes to population...
No, I'm saying politically how it was perceived.
That's the perception we need to do away with. When we talk about representation, equal representation, we are talking about a people of Kenya. We are not talking about Mount Kenya. We are talking about the population of Kenya and where these people are. So the representation should be targeting the population, not the tribes, not the regions. No. What's the population of Mount Kenya as at now? This. How many people are supposed to represent them? Let the big people represent Mount Kenya as a region, not as a tribe, not as a people. No, we want to go that direction where we are saying that Kenyans need to be represented equally. What is the formula? We don't use the regions. We are using a population census. What's the population telling us about this? How many people do we have? How many representatives do we have? Then from there, we now go to the ground. How do we draw the boundaries? That's how it should work. The issue of bringing in Mount Kenya being favored should not be there, because when it comes to representation, we talk about one man vote, right? One man shilling, one man vote. There we are. So when that happens, then that's what we call equal representation. We don't need to go into the issue of regions, tribes, or what, when it comes to representation. No. We need to look at the Kenyan people. What's the population? Then see, how do you want them represented? Let's say, per every 100,000 people, one person represents them. Then let it be worked out, and then we go for mapping.
Okay, now, finally, maybe on this, I don't know whether we are aware that we have to go to a process of delimitation of the boundaries. And the institution ambayo inafaa kuchukua ile exercise ni tume ya IEBC, ambayo inakumbwa na changamoto, wanaambiwa waende na wanafaa kufanya vile, I think by March, ama from March. Do you feel ya kwamba the reason why we are seeing all those, we are trying to we are trying to bring confusion, frustration, so that we can halt the process of delimitation of the boundaries?
Everything in this country is very much possible. Mm-hmm. In Kenya, we have people who know how to read the future, and they know how to penetrate into the future. You take a person like President Ruto, don't joke with him.
Smart
that guy is a very smart guy. Mm-hmm. He plays the game ahead of many people. Mm-hmm. So he can be able to drawing, he can now be working on his game, but then he creates things that by the end of the day will favor him by the end of the day. So what we are saying is, where we are heading to, the things that are going on now with IEBC is a kind of confusion. And it's going to put it into crisis by the end of the day. Because, for example, if the 4 commissioners are withdrawn, the other commissioners are retiring in January.
Remaining with only one commissioner.
One commissioner.
Ambaye anasema ataenda.
That one is remaining firm. But by the end of the day, he'll go nowhere. He'll go nowhere. Because he's already a predetermined judgment. He's already made. So the 4 are just going to go. Either they resign or not, they're just going to go. And then the others are going to be leaving office in January. So the IEBC will remain with 0 commissioners. And now it will put it into a constitutional crisis straight away. Because now they have to rush again to create another body that is going to be appointing the commissioners, which is a process. It doesn't take one day. It will take 2, 3, 4 months to do that. So what we are seeing here is a state where the IEBC is going to go into a crisis. And this crisis is going to be an advantage to some other people in a way or another. That's the situation they're going to try into by the end of the day. Yeah.
Are you trying to tell us maybe the delimitation of the boundaries may not happen much as it should be?
It cannot happen because...
As per the calendar, sorry.
Yeah, it cannot happen because it cannot happen when the commissioners are in place. There are no commissioners, you can't do anything. It raises so many cases, there'll be so many court cases.
Maybe those who are doing this, they are not aware. Those who are bringing frustration, they are not aware that we have to go back to...
No, you know, in Kenya, we have a problem.
Yes.
And unless we address this problem, for example, we just had elections. These elections had two devices. We had issues. Every party or every coalition was claiming to be winning. Okay? They say that, okay, some of these commissioners were pro the losers. But then the losers are also saying that those that are in office were pro the winners. I see the point. So if, at my own reasoning, wisdom demanded that we don't talk about IEBC. For the next 3 or 4, 5 months, up to around, we don't talk about IEBC. We just go into the process of bringing in the others that are going to replace those that are there. But we leave this one in place because the coalition Kenya Kwanza says they are the winners. The other coalition says there are 4 commissioners who supported the winners. This other one says these are the ones who are supported with the other ones, the 4. Are you seeing the point? So by the end of the day, we are playing an equal game, blame game, like that. So the only thing wisdom demanded that instead of us going to fighting about the IEBC now, the country was moving into healing. What do? Wisdom demands that you keep quiet. Because these other things they are bringing.
But in this situation, we can't keep quiet because there's a certain responsibility
that's what I'm saying. The IEBC now, the issues that are now rising up, even this office and what, because of IEBC. Because the 4 commissioners are the reason to why Raila wanted to go to the streets. Raila was not planning any meeting until when the issue of the 4 commissioners came in. Now Raila begins planning to go and defend them by way of demonstration. Meaning, it's easy for us to put the country into another chaos. It's going to be very easy for us to plunge the country into other campaign moods again. Because Raila hosts one meeting. He checks the temperatures. What's the reception? How are people reacting to my meetings now? He finds the reaction is positive, like the one we had at Kamkunji. He creates another meeting. So these meetings now will be created and then they'll begin sending the country into another campaign mood. Remember, President Ruto and his deputy are also eyeing 2027. So they're also going to come up with their strategies to see how do we get this. And that's why they have got to counter-react. What Raila is doing to stop him from doing publicity now. Because if he continues doing this publicity, like Ruto himself did, you remember President did it, he started doing some publicity early enough. So people started moving towards him early enough. And he started working with people towards elections. The same thing is going to happen with Raila now. If they don't tame him now, he's going to create so many meetings. And this meeting is going to pull people on his side. And then he'll begin working with them towards elections. So the president now has got to use a strategy to stop him. What do? Let him create an office for him, make him the official opposition leader, and now give him guidelines on how he's going to operate.
So they give leeway, but with the limitation.
That is it.
Okay, now before we take a short break now, or maybe we can talk this after a short break. President Ruto, by then the deputy president, said that in case he will win the election and he won, his priority is improving the people's livelihood. Now what's happened, that he said that changing constitution will not be the priority. What has happened? That now it has become now the priority.
Now you see, politics is a very interesting game. You have to use tricks to get where you are going. Because during the campaign period, they were not in the realities. No. But after the campaign now, elections are now over, now you get into the realities. There are things you cannot do without amending the law. Whatever you want, whatever they had was not anchored in the law. almost everything that they promised was not anchored in the law.
Na kwanza hujatuambia ulipata pesa ngapi? Hasla ngapi?
Hata sijajaribu. You see, it was not anchored in the law. And because of that, for them to manage, they've got to move into law amendments to bring all those things they were promising Kenyans into the law. Like now the Hasla thing. There are many cases already. Why? The question is, tell us where the money is coming from. Because every money that comes in the government, in public domain, from the government must go through the process. Now, you are giving us money. Where is it anchored in the law? The constituent fund had issues because it was not properly anchored in the law. So any government money that you want to spend to the public must be anchored in the law. So their promises, most of them, were fictitious. They have now got to bring them into the law that they can be able to fulfill. And
Naomba kumea hapo kwanza tuchukue break fupi, tutakuja kuzungumzia pale, atachukulia kutoka hapo ambapo tutakuwa tuambia before uchaguzi tuliambiwa kubadilisha katiba haitakuwa jambo la kwanza ama haitakuwa priority. What has happened now imekuwa priority. Naitwa Ivan Kibe.
Hello, how are you? It's Women's Week. Karibuni sana. We are here where we talk about girls, teens, we talk about also women, we talk about men. Brings us now to this conversation. We are talking about
Eric's story ilikuwa different sana. But being different, I thank God it attracted other clout chasers.
You know what? We always say mwanamke ndiye anafaa kufanya family planning, but guess what? The researchers, na ninapenda sana our researchers.
Mafalso anasema ufanye. You have to know yourself. You have to know your limits, your boundaries, the things that you can do, the things that you cannot do.
When an organizer is organizing an event, they must have, let me say, the quality judges.
Kitambo, that old woman, hajui hakuwa na question. Angeuliza swali, mbona umenifanyia hivi? Ilikuwa ni kama...
My name is Denise Gordon, and I am a fashion designer based in Los Angeles. And I have, but Kenya, even though I'm from New York, now I live in LA.
This woman is who we are right now.
Yes.
Ukinikosea, as Mary has told us, unasema umenikosea hapa. But unfortunately, some of our men, not all, some of our men are not ready to be.
Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for all the comments and the love you show me pale kwa social media. Alafu the way you tune in, guys, the way you are always texting and saying, oh, kwani hatu have hii na your topping.
Wait, stop right there. It's the kids' mind. Kids' mind. Kids' mind. Kids' mind. Enjoy this part into triangle shape. Songs, dances, English and so funky. Pow, pow, pow. Vitamins blasting off. Amazing tomato. And Bible stories. We at the Kids Mind, we desire to serve you with these exciting activities. Join us. Join us every Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Wow! Wow!
Everywhere, GBS.
Naam, karibu tena mtazamaji wetu wa GBS TV nao katika sehemu ya tatu na ya mwisho ya GBS TV Jumatatu. Karibu tena ndugu yangu.
Thank you.
Na tulikuwa tumesema sisi hatuna haja ya kubadilisha katiba, hiyo si nia yetu. Sasa tena imekuwa nia.
Venye nilikwambia manifesto ya Kenya Kwanza ilikuwa mzuri. lakini yote haikuwa katika katiba. And because it was not in the constitution, for them to function and implement every one thing they had promised Kenyans, they must go to the constitution. So they must change the constitution so they can be able to do whatever they wanted to do. Otherwise, if they do, there will be chaos. They will be answering to so many cases. And that's why the changing of the constitution is a must. Every president who comes in power, he comes with his mind, with his ideas, with his vision for the country. And for him to achieve whatever he wants, then he must look into the constitution and see, what do I have? Is it in the constitution? If it's not in the constitution, then he must look for ways through which he can be able to amend the constitution so he can be able to implement whatever he wants. Otherwise, if he tries to do without it, he cannot move in any way. So it was just a political language, because at that time, the war was against the BBI changing the constitution. And therefore, there are people in the country by then who did not want to hear anything like changing the constitution. And because he wanted to gain votes, what does he do? Say what people want to hear. By then, you remember, people wanted to hear about the price of maize going down. That's what they wanted to hear. That's the language he was using. People wanted to hear the price of fuel going down. That's the language the common one wanted to hear. So what do you do in the campaigns? You take what people want to hear, you use it to campaign to win their souls. So they can now work with you towards victory. After you win, you now go back to yourself. Because that's the time now you begin seeing sense. Before you are seeing elections, but now you begin seeing the reality. So immediately the president won the elections after being sworn into office. He saw the reality. You remember even during his speech, inauguration speech, he mentioned about the prices of fuel. But you see, fuel, you can't just wake up in the morning and say you are reducing the price of fuel. You cannot wake up in the morning and say, today, I'm reducing the price of unga from this to this. It's impossible. You cannot do that. Because there are systems put in place, there are processes that are involved in bringing the price down. So for him to succeed in any way, the constitution is the only weapon he has. He has got to play with the constitution, find ways to make amendments where need be, that he can be able to slot in his agenda. Then that way he's going to manage. Without the constitution amendments, he cannot move even 1 inch.
Now, do you think that it will be doable?
Of course, given that they have the majority in parliament, that's number one, and they intend to use the parliament. So there is going to be some kind of game going to play in here, in that by the end of the day, the government will try to ignore the court orders and all those things to do whatever it wants to do by the end of the day. The people may go to court, yes, bring a process to an end, yes, but the parliament, being an organ of the law, will come in and overshadow and ignore the court orders, and therefore pass whatever they want to pass to enable them to do whatever they want to do. That's going to happen like that. You get it?
Anaitwa daktari.
Yeah.
Frank Safu. Nikataka tuweze kuzungumzia swala la, as you said, campaign period. We are coming from campaign, now we are again with the campaign. Mwananchi atafanyiwa kazi lini? Because now, if we are now going to referendum, as maybe you are saying, of course kutakuwa na wale watu wa kupinga. Hata kama watashindwa, watasema ya kwamba wacha niende vita, hata kama nitapigwa kule kwa vita, wacha nirudi na majiraha ya kuonyesha watu ya kwamba at least I fought it.
Yeah. Actually, the issue is that this government may perform very little. By the end of the 5 years, the cage may read that whatever they promised us, they may not be able to fulfill. If they do, maybe about 30%. The reason is they got into office in the campaign mood and with assumption. After campaigning, they moved into office, still they want to please people. Instead of looking at the requirements that are governing their offices, they are now still in the mentality of still pleasing people. That's why a CS wakes up and says, we are going to do away with boarding schools. How do you just wake up in the morning and say, you're going to do away with boarding schools. Why? It's very expensive. Parents want to hear that. Keeping a student in second school is very expensive. For boarding school, it's very expensive. So what do I do? Let me say this. It's going to please these people, and they will support me. But when you talk about abolishing boarding schools, what are you saying in a simple language? You are saying this country goes into chaos because you just don't understand the role boarding schools play in keeping these children under control. Assuming that all these children in Kenya became day scholars, whatever is going to happen in this country is hell. Because allowing students to be out on the streets every morning, every evening, you're going to be creating a gang of thugs and robbers in the country. Because the cases of indiscipline will go very, very high. But what does a CS do? Wakes up, he wants to place a certain group of people, and he says this, without caring the implications of whatever he's deciding on. Someone wakes up in the morning and says, wakulima, tunawapatia siku fulani, muwe mmeuza mahindi yenu. My maize, you are giving conditions on when to sell. Are you thinking about it? It's me supposed to sell this maize. It's my maize. I know when to sell it, when the need arises. You are telling me, I'm giving you, as a minister, I have control over your land. I have control over your harvests. I'm giving you this number of days. You must have sold your maize. If you don't sell, are those statements logical? Do they carry any sense at all? Did this person think about what he is saying? Now they are saying they have closed the cereal boards. Fine, you close them. I remember my maize. I'll sell my maize by the end of the day. So you see all those statements being aired out. It means these guys went in their office and they went to an assumption that they know it all. Let me tell you, a country is not a matatu. No. Leading a country is not as simple as someone may imagine. A country is carrying brains. You are a leader leading people who think 1,000 times more than you. You are a leader leading people who reason 1,000 times more than you. You are a leader, it is just favor that puts you there. But there are people out there who understand the system better. So what I'm saying is that it's going to be very difficult for the current government to deliver to Kenyans. Why? Because they have a mentality in them that we want to correct errors. A very wrong mentality. A leader, you get in position, you need to do first of all, study what has been going on. Understand what has been going on. Then out of it, choose. These are good things that have been going on. And out of it, choose. These are bad things that have been going on. Then from there, analyze and see what you can bring in so that you can be able to move forward. Otherwise, the approach they have taken is a tough approach and they may not achieve anything at all.
Daktari, tumezungumzia kuhusu issues now kwa dakika 5 pekee tupige siasa. And it has been said ya kwamba ukiangalia nchi venye ilivyo, hata uangalie the serikali ilivyo ya mheshimiwa His Excellency William Ruto na uangalie deputy wake, somebody is nasema ya kwamba it's like what Ruto sold to the former president is what now he is reaping. Because now if you look the move ambazo zinafanywa na mheshimiwa deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, there are those move ambazo Ruto alianza kufanya. Now today's looks of what the deputy president is doing. Anaenda pale mahali anapaachia vijana 300,000, hizi ni zenyo za bash, mkimaliza exam walimu mnawapatia 100,000, hizo ni zenu, na ana make sure amejua hizi pesa zimetoka kwake. Pale university aliacha 500 million na kuambia now let us go and celebrate kwamba tumemaliza shule. And politically, leave along now the administrative bit, but now politically, watu wanaenda nyumbani wakibeba the deputy president vipi? Before that, nataka ujibu hayo tuko pamoja. Look now, the Ruto I think have seen, they know the president ni kama ameona kwamba is like a Mount Kenya, it might become somehow slippery 2027. I know he's trying now to go to the western. He bring Davadi, he bring Atuli, and now the rider factor is outside the game. What do we expect maybe by 2025?
Number one, it pertains the deputy and the president. That combination is a dangerous combination. because the president is vocal. He's a wordy man. He's a man who speaks in forums. He's actually a motivational speaker, the president himself.
He convinces.
Gachagua is another one. He's a motivational speaker, he's a speaker, he speaks. So the two, we don't know who is supposed to pass the government policies to the people. When the president is sitting, when the deputy stands up to speak, he speaks policies. The president stands, he speaks policies. In the same forum, the deputy promises. In the same forum, the president promises. And you see, it's one office. So by the end of the day, we're going to have a clash. In fact, it's going to be worse. Leave alone, President Uhuru was a quiet man. That's the advantage Ruto had. But in this one, the difference is that Gachagua wants to be known that he's deputy president of Kenya. He wants to be felt as the deputy president of Kenya. The president of Kenya wants to be felt as the head. He's the man in control. And therefore, these two people, by the end of the day, give them just in the next about 6 months, there'll be chaos. And that's why now the president is deviating, is running away, because it was not his intentions to have Gachagua as the deputy. The truth is, Kindiki was supposed to be the deputy. But for one reason or another, which is not known to us, Gachagua ends up being the deputy. And therefore, what does the president do now? I've got to begin creating other avenues. Why? Western Bloc is second in population to the Central Bloc. So what do? Let me bring Mudavadi closer to me. Already Mudavadi, if you look at him, is already singing in support of Ruto 2027. Already, he's doing it now. And therefore, he's bringing besides him where he can be able to win the Western Bloc. He's now going to the big guys of Western, like Atwoli. He brings him on board. What does he do? I convince him. How to convince Atwoli? Let me apologize to him, the things I said about him that were so bad. So that I can bring him closer to me and then begin working with the Western Bloc together. Then by the end of the day, what's going to happen is he's going to leave Gachagua alone. And he's going to allow Gachagua to go and fumble, make promises that he will not allow them fulfilled. He makes a promise, but the president says no. Back in the office, he says, that one wait. And whatever he promises, he allows it to go on. And that's why care must be taken with Mr. Gachagua in a manner that Gachagua has to be careful. He should avoid this game he's playing of promising people things, telling people we are going to do, we are going to do, we are going to do, we are going to do. That's the language the deputy was using by then when he was the deputy president. By then. He was saying we are going to do, we have done, we have done. No. Let him use the language, I'm going to speak to the president to see if this thing can be done. So that he can now win the trust of the president. But the way he's speaking now, he's taking an entity as a person with authority. And yet, in the office of the deputy, you don't have authority. You speak on behalf of the president. Only what the president tells you to do is what you do. If he tells you to go and promise, you go and promise. So he's promising people things in his name, not in the name of the president. And therefore, the president is going to put a nut on it. Whatever he promises is going to work. Why? Because he wants him out. He can bring in another player. You look at the office of the prime minister, of Mudavadi. It's just strategic. It's very strategic in a manner that the functions of of Mr. Musalia and the functions of the deputy are almost the same. Why? He's setting them together to clash. And because Mudavadi is intelligent and a quiet man, Gachagua is intelligent and vocal, two will clash. Then by the end of the day, we're going to have chaos in that office of the deputy. And then the president is going to leave him alone. Everything on earth operates on a seed principle. The same thing that happened between Uhuru and his deputy by then, the president, is going to repeat itself. Everything on earth operates on a seed principle. Whatsoever you sow, believe me, you will just reap while you are alive. Because dead people don't reap anything.
Then people who hawavuni anything.
Yeah.
Wanagoja tu. Inafikanga wakati wa kusiasa nakuta muda wangu umeisha. Naona niko na dakika ngapi? Niko dakika 2. I wish next time naomba tutaanza na siasa. alafu tukuje tuzungumzie issue. Hisia zako za mwisho ni zipi? But before that, hata kama tuwasemea kwamba dakika zangu zimeisha, daktari. No, you are saying that you are foreseeing where the president and the deputy might crash along the way. Where do you feel that maybe now the president will find a refuge, maybe, if we need 2027?
You see.
1 minute.
You see, President Ruto, as I told you, is a smart guy. And President Ruto plays his game ahead. Where the president now is not where he is. Believe me, you. The way you see him now is not where he is. He's already working on occupying the office 2027, as at now. You look at whatever he's doing, he's trying to bring people on his side. Like he's going to Nyanza, bring people on his side, bringing people on his side, giving them goodies. He goes for people who are desperate. He brings them on board. He praises them and gives them positions. He's already strategizing for 2027. And believe me, you, by 2024, 2025, President Ruto will be in full gear campaign. He'll now be campaigning fully and he'll be everywhere. And therefore, he's going to take advantage of the other groups that were under Azimio. He's going to take advantage of that. And what he's doing now is policing them. He's hooking them out. Slowly by slowly, he's bringing them on board. And he's putting them behind himself. So he's already building himself for 2027. And that's why he has said that if he allows Raila to continue what he's doing, then he'll not manage. Because that's the strategy he used. And if Raila uses it now, then still Raila will win over him by a big margin. So what does he do? Let us stop Raila from going on with these things by creating an office for him, controlling him, and then from there now we can continue doing our things slowly by slowly, and then we win what we want to.
Your last comment?
Mine as at now is, for me, what I would like to say to Kenyans is that we need just to work. I emphasize that because if we are going to look at the government to help us to move where we want to move, believe me, you will cry. Kenyans should just wake up in the morning, organize themselves, do whatever they know how to do best, let them work for their families. If you have school fees issues, just work for school fees issues. Ensure that your child is in school. If you have food problems, just go to the land. Make sure you till your land, make sure you create harvest for yourself. Because where we are heading to, things are going to be more tougher. And they require us to be more tough to enable us to overcome the season that we are in. Because if we depend on the government, it has already been proved that the government won't help us. They are still telling us to wait. They are still telling us to give them more time. The question is, they're not telling us what time they want. They should be able to tell us, give us 6 months, give us 1 year or so. But they're telling us, give us more time. In fact, they are saying, we shall fix this. You cannot fix a country. No, you only create solutions for a country. Because fixing problems is impossible. Every day that we wake up, a country has new problems. And therefore, you cannot continue fixing them. But you continue creating solutions on daily basis that people can get solutions to their problems. So what I'm telling Kenyans is, for now, it is up to us to work. Because as I said earlier on, economy is not about the money. Economy is about a people at work. When we work, then whatever work we do translates into growth of economy. If we don't work, we wake up in the morning on the streets walking around and making noise, oh, economy is bad, it will remain bad. Because there is nothing we are putting forth, there is no effort we are putting in. And even God himself, God will only come in to bless the works of our hands. So the question is, you're talking about economy being bad. What have you done by the end of the day? That should be the question we must answer every day when we go back to our houses. The question should be, what have I done this day? So whatever you do is what God blesses. Whatever you touch your hands on is what God is going to bless. So Kenyans, wake up, let us go and work. Working will give us whatever we want. That is the only way we can make it. Let us wake up in the morning and work.
Hata mimi nasema wacha tufanye kazi, tuchape kazi. Bye bye.
Thank you.